This is The Wheel Weaves, a Wheel of Time podcast with no spoilers. Welcome, listeners. This podcast is safe for first-time readers because it's made by a first-time reader. I'm your host, Dani, and I'm the one who's taken on the task of reading through this 15-book mega-series. I'm joined by my co-host, Brett, who's a longtime fan, and he's acting as my tour guide on this journey. Before we get into our episode today, we just want to say that we have been so grateful for all of our Patreon support, and we've been thinking about different ways that we could give back to the community or pay it forward. So we have taken some inspiration from a couple other podcasts that we listen to, and we'll be donating $1 for every patron that we have at the beginning of each month. So this is our first episode in August, and we currently have 15 patrons. So we'll be donating $15 to the Mayo Clinic in honor of the reason we are all here, Robert Jordan. This episode we're going to be getting into chapter 19.
Yeah, Shadows Waiting.
Ooh,
yeah.
It's so spooky. This might be the toughest chapter for me to read
and stop reading.
Not say anything to you about.
Oh, okay.
Like, while I was reading it, I wanted to make a million comments.
I can imagine.
And so I'm really excited to finally talk to you about all of this.
Yeah, there's tons of fun stuff that happens. Well, not fun for the
It is not fun,
people,
and it is terrible, and I'm angry.
Just a little bit?
This chapter made me angry. Like,
yeah.
I'm mad.
Yeah.
It's so stupid.
I can tell by your face.
Okay, so before we get into that, do you have
Yeah.
something fun and lighthearted for us?
Yeah, I have something a little bit more lighthearted because this is obviously a pretty heavy chapter. So this fun fact is a little bit about George Martin and Robert Jordan's relationship.
Okay.
So I talked a little bit about this previously, but there's lots of really fun little tidbits that I can drop on you here. So This one is a letter that Robert Jordan had sent to Miss Grohl at Bantam Books, the publishing company for George Martin's series.
Okay.
And I just wanted to read the little excerpt here from it because it's kind of fun. So he had previously sent a quote to put on George Martin's book when he was releasing A Song of Ice and Fire.
Robert Jordan
sent a quote to put on the cover. You know how all those books have those
yeah.
This is a great book, read it.
Yeah, sort of, okay.
Because it really matters, obviously.
Well, for some people.
For some people. But the letter he wrote says, I know that some time has passed since I gave you a quote for George Martin's A Game of Thrones, and some little time since it was published, but do you think it might be possible to send me an autographed copy? Which is kind of fun. RJ wanted an autographed copy of George Martin's book.
Yeah.
And then he says, I look forward to seeing the next book and future books in the cycle. I see in Logoth that George says he no longer thinks he can finish the story in a trilogy. Yeah, because George Martin also had the writing issues.
I believe it.
of finishing books quickly or in short form there.
Well, we already are very well aware that he hasn't finished books quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Robert Jordan says, good. Not that his story will be longer, but that he isn't going to try shoehorning his story into the form everybody seems to say such stories must follow. Writing what you want to write in the way you want to write it isn't easy when lots of people are telling you that you can't do it that way because it isn't done that way. He apparently is as lucky as I am in having a publisher and editor who are willing to go against the flow. Yeah, so it's kind of funny because obviously with RJ writing a series, a lot of people were telling him how to do it. You can't write a series that long, so on and so forth. And he was really excited that George Martin took the path to not follow those directions as well.
That's right.
Yeah, so maybe we can post that. It's a letter, actually. We can maybe post it somewhere. So
cool.
People can check that out.
Yeah, that's interesting. All right, so let's jump right in here to chapter 19. And I right away say, like, Shadows Waiting. It's like a super spooky title.
Yeah, for sure.
Very ominous. And then the picture is of our two ravens.
Yeah.
Which I said is maybe for evil.
Yeah, well, the last time we saw that symbol was in chapter 2.
Strangers.
Yeah, and that's when the raven jumped out of the way.
Yeah, it was an actual physical raven.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know whether to look for, like, ravens.
Yeah.
Or not, but it, I think, definitely signifies evil.
Evil presence,
and I know they're being pursued by Trollocs and Fades, so...
Yeah.
That's all I really know.
Evil. Bad.
Bad evil.
Ravens are bad, I guess. Poor ravens.
Okay, so the crew is heading into this place that used to be called Hall.
Yep.
And was an ally to Manetheren during the Trolloc Wars, but something clearly happened here, and we aren't being told about it yet, I suppose.
Yeah.
Because now it's known as Shadar Logoth.
Yeah.
And that just sounds terrifying. So, plus this place is somewhere that Trollocs won't go, and Moiraine was really against coming here.
Yeah, and Lan and Moiraine were arguing.
Yeah. So, right away, this is probably a bad place for them to be.
Yeah, and a reminder from last time, Shadar Logoth means the place where the shadow waits.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so this place is very abandoned, with crumbling walls and weeds and vines all over the place, and it's described as huge. Like, absolutely ginormous. With marble palaces and bronze fountains, and Rand thinks that the tallest building in Baerlon would have just vanished here. So he just feels completely stupid for thinking that Baerlon was a big city.
Yeah.
And that Tom and Moiraine and Lan must have just been laughing at him because there are clearly way bigger cities.
Yeah, and Tom definitely was laughing at him, so.
Yeah. Well, and then Rand is just sort of like this farm boy idiot. And I just said, like, I bet not. I bet they didn't even really pay attention. Like, Moiraine and Lan really
have better things to worry about than Rand's perception of how big Baerlon is?
Yes, exactly. And so it's totally understandable that they'd be surprised with the size of Baerlon, considering where they came from and what they know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just another instance of Bran being self-conscious. But Lan stops them in front of the ruins of a large white building. And this will do as a shelter for now. So we get some description of it. The windows are sort of fallen out of it. The top floors definitely aren't usable, but they're just going into the main big room that they're going to stay in.
Yeah, and I think kind of the most notable thing here is just the fact that there's literally nothing here.
Yeah.
Like, besides some tapestries on the wall that are, like, crumbling, there's nothing.
Yeah, and lots of dust.
Lots of dust.
Yeah.
So it's been such a long time that this place has been abandoned, too.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting, too, because it's so close, like, relatively to Baerlon.
Yeah.
Like,
and
it's not that far.
Camelin, too, really. Or Whitebridge, anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty close to some towns.
Yeah, but, like, nobody's been there.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, gives another sort of scary, ominous thing about, like, what are they doing here if, like, literally no one has been there?
Yeah, like
right?
spooky ancient
They
ghost
must be their
ruins.
literal only option right now.
Yeah.
So, Lan tells the boys to bring the horses inside and find a room for them in the back that will act as a stable. And then he carries Moiraine into the building.
Yeah, Moraine's got to be tired.
She's still feeling really weak from all the crazy magic.
Yeah, not even to be, like, helped in, like, literally carried.
Yeah.
So she's wiped.
Yeah. And Egwene and Nynaeve followed them in, so the boys and Tom are left to tend to the horses. And now this building is so big that they can find a room to stable the horses in.
Yeah.
Like, inside.
Gigantic.
And the boys are kind of like, horses inside? What is this? Right? So that's kind of funny. So they go in, and they see that Lan has sort of set up a spot for Moiraine in the corner, and Nynaeve is mid-convo with the warder, and she's searching in her bag for some herbs or something.
Yep.
And apparently Lan is being sort of wary of, like, all of her herbs and whatever. So Nynaeve gets defensive, saying that even though she doesn't like the Aes Sedai, she helps anyone who needs her help.
Yeah, that's a kind of a big look, and we had this conversation a little bit about Nynaeve's character, and, you know, she's gonna help regardless of how much she likes someone.
Yeah.
And I mean, you kind of have to be that in a medical practitioner
Right,
field.
and we sort of saw that when she was tending to the villagers after the Trolloc raid. Like, even though she really, like, probably loves Tam, or really, really cares for Tam.
More so than some other people
she
probably
knew
treated.
there was nothing she could do, and there are other people who need my help, so she was very all business when it came to helping.
Yeah, she kind of gets a couple of jabs in there where she's like, oh, even with her one power, right, my herbs are still good.
Yeah, I said she gets super sassy here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she even says to Lan, your sword cannot help her now, Lord of the Seven Towers.
Yeah, just like shaking her head back.
Super sassy. So Moiraine tells Lan that it's fine and tells him to be at ease because Nynaeve simply just does not know. And this pisses Nynaeve off even more because she wants to know what she does not know. So Moiraine basically says that only rest will help her now. And, you know, there's no way that the wisdom could really know this about Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
But, you know, she does that thing where she changes the subject and compliments someone.
When she does, yeah.
Right?
It's especially kind of does it with Nynaeve more than other people.
Yeah, but she did it with Egwene.
Yeah.
When they were having their little chat.
Yeah, like change the topic.
Yeah, she changes the topic and then compliments because she doesn't want to answer the question that she was asked.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of an interesting note with the magic system, too, that if Moiraine is telling the truth, like, oh, she doesn't know, I just need rest. So that is an important note on, if you channel a ton of the one power, there's no shortcuts to healing yourself. Yeah. It's literally, I just need to rest.
Yeah,
and
that
you
makes
regain
sense.
that. So
okay, but then she tells Nynaeve that her herbs might be more useful than she thought, and asks if there's anything to sort of make her sleepy and sleep for a little bit, but not groggy.
Yeah.
So interesting, and right away she's like, "Yep, this, and this, perfect." Right?
Show off her skills.
Yeah, and then Rand heads back to the back of the building with the horses. So they start unsaddling the horses, all but Matt, who goes to check out some doorways that lead out of the room and is super pumped to find that one leads to an alleyway.
Yeah.
But the boys don't care and tell him to come help with the horses.
Yeah, no one's going to do it for you.
Yeah, and so he does, but he seems annoyed at them for not being all excited to explore. And then Rand says, "Hey, like, what's up, man?" Because he's just sort of staring off. And he says he was just thinking. And Perrin laughs and makes a joke about how he doesn't think. And Matt scowls at him. So that's funny.
It's a good little joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke.
It's a nice jab.
I liked it. But it turns out he is thinking about the words that he said and how he feels like it was a dead man speaking out of his mouth. And this, like, really freaks him out. So Perrin continues to tease Matt to say that, oh, maybe Matt is Aemon reborn, and how he should like that because he's always saying how boring it is in Emmonsfield.
Yeah, Matt is the one who keeps talking about adventures and getting out here, and he was listening to the stories all excited, like...
Yep.
And they kind of are drilling it into our heads here that he's, like, looking to get out into the city.
Yes.
So he really wants to
go
and explore.
Yeah, but Tom interjects here, and he loses his attitude.
Yeah.
Like, really fast. About how these are no things to joke about, and this is dangerous and stupid talk. And he takes a breath to calm himself, and he tells the boys that the dead can be reborn, and this isn't a joke.
Yeah, or take a living body.
Yeah, which is also kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So then he goes on to tell Matt that it's just the old blood, and now he knows more about his ancestry, and he should be glad for it and just let it go.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a distinction there between the old blood and then actually having like a reborn character.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
From the sounds of it from Tom, or what he's saying from the stories he's heard at least,
yeah,
because it seems like he's never actually had a first-hand experience here. Like being a reborn version of somebody is way worse than just having some like old blood in you.
Yeah, exactly. But then Rand thinks bitterly about how he doesn't even know who his father is.
Of course.
Yeah. So Tom says that they all just better forget about it and focus on getting safely out of here. And then he says he's going to go have a smoke because he is sick of these boys. So I think that Tom has gotten a lot more than he's bargained for on this journey.
For sure. So we know that he left Emmonsfield originally
thinking it would be safer to travel with them, I thought.
Yeah, like that's kind of what the impression was for sure. He had that weird interaction about the growling when the Red Aja was brought up, too.
Right, yeah.
So there might be more to him coming with than just like a safe journey out. Because if he was just looking for a safe journey out, he could have ditched out at Bayerlawn. He could have ditched out a few places,
yeah,
I think.
I know, but he like keeps going with them, insinuating that it's safer for him to travel with them.
Yeah.
But like he's really wrong about that.
He's not. That's
Definitely
why it kind of sounds
like they were just attacked by Trollocs and Fades.
Sounds like a bit of an excuse he's using to keep coming.
And now he's like going into Shadar Logoth.
Logoth, yeah.
Whatever, with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know about Tom right now.
Yeah.
He's a mystery.
It's kind of interesting too that Moiraine and Lan aren't questioning his motives more.
Yeah.
Like he is the stranger
and
coming with them.
And I mean, like, to be fair, they might be, just not around Rand.
Yeah, just we might not see it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Rand gives Matt a reassuring, like, don't worry about it, bud. We're all in this together. And then the High School Musical song breaks out and everyone does a dance.
Oh, yeah?
We're all in this together.
Is that what happens?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
You've seen High School Musical?
No.
Oh.
You've seen it countless times.
Yeah, I know.
I have not.
Well, whatever. They're all in this together. And it's like all about teamwork and it's wonderful.
Well, that's good.
But this, I wish that they weren't in it together.
Yeah, I was going to say, does High School Musical also go the way this chapter does?
Not so much.
Okay.
So, in regular Matt fashion, he just sort of shakes this off and moves on without giving it another thought. He says to the guys, like, hey, why don't we go explore the city? We have an hour or two left of daylight. And Perrin says, yeah, but what about the Trollocs?
Yeah.
And Matt says, idiot. They won't come in here. Lan said that. Don't you listen to what people say?
Oh, I know. I put down that that's the best line ever, because totally,
oh my God,
Matt
wrote,
saying it.
Okay, Matt.
But also, I feel like that's 100% in character. Like, I totally get him saying that.
He just doesn't have perspective.
Yeah.
Like, that's his issue. He's super, like, condescending about something like this when literally 2 chapters ago, he was the one who wasn't listening to what Lan was saying.
Yeah, like, not at all.
Yeah.
And, like, gonna, blurt out everything.
He also has selective listening.
He does.
He only, he heard, it's safe. Trollocs won't come in here. But then he doesn't use his, like, critical thinking skills to think, okay, but why won't the Trollocs come in here?
And don't worry, because that's the entire story of this chapter.
I know, it's so annoying. Yeah. But all the boys have this moment of being so stupid, where Rand just says, yeah, this place must have been a pretty big forest during the Trolloc Wars if Trollocs are scared to enter.
Yeah.
And at no point does anyone think about, like, why the Trollocs are scared to go.
Well, they're thinking that the Trollocs are scared because this was such a powerful force against the Trollocs. Like, that's why the Trollocs are afraid.
Which doesn't even make any sense, because that was
it's not
thousands
the best.
of years ago, and it's clearly abandoned, and if there's nothing evil lurking here, then why wouldn't they go in there?
It's not the best line of thought, but it's also kind of that mentality where I can totally tell you with 100% confidence that 3 boys in this situation
are stupid.
If one's pushing for something and the other 2 are kind of passive, like, they're gonna go along with it.
I know, it's
gonna
so
happen.
Annoying.
Yeah.
So Perrin wants to ask permission, but then he gets made fun of.
Yeah, of course.
And they're like, no, we'll never be allowed to go. We have to just go. And I'm just like, this is the worst idea. So they all get peer pressured into going, and they sneak out of the back, and I literally, like, yelled at my
This
book.
is what would happen in real life, though.
I know.
For anyone who's mad at this chapter, this is how it would totally go down.
So beyond frustrating. Like, maybe if it was, like, high school and they were talking about, like, ditching math class, that's how this would go. But in this situation, they're literally being chased by minions of the devil.
Yep.
And they're in such hot water.
But you missed the most important part. This place is safe.
Oh my
Remember?
God. I just think that these are just idiots. This is the stupidest idea. And now I just have to sit here and wait for something to happen to them.
Yeah, you just got to watch it happen.
I know.
Yeah.
It was just so bad. It was hard to read. So they get into the alley. Matt breaks into song and dance
Goes
and
skipping along.
laughs about being so free and away from, the people who are protecting them with their lives.
Yeah.
And Rand and Perrin are clearly a little bit uncomfortable and think just sort of like, let's get on with it. Let's see some things, make Matt happy, and then head back.
Yeah.
And they all know that they're going to get in trouble.
For sure.
So that's why they're like, okay, well, as long as
you might as well enjoy it if you're going to get in trouble.
as long as we're back by sunset, what harm could we really do?
Exactly.
So they go off exploring and they check everything out. And it's like a huge city with palaces and tons of huge buildings, and everything's all dusty and crumbling down. Yeah. And everything is old, and Rand feels uneasy about the shadows, thinking that he could see some eyes staring at him disapprovingly at them disturbing the city.
Yeah. When Robert Jordan is describing all these different buildings, it's kind of fun to read through them because it's Rand's perspective. Rand is describing buildings. He's got no idea what they actually are. Yeah, like
one is like a coliseum.
Yeah, it kind of seems like there's like a coliseum. Kind of looks like one's could be a theater or like an opera house or some sort of like amphitheater or something like that. One even kind of made me think of like the planetarium, like the big dome-shaped roof, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, it's like Rand trying to describe buildings
Do you think they had projectors back then?
Totally, yeah. Like the best ones. Something like that. Not an actual...
I know.
With the recorded voice that's
I know, but
on.
there's a big circular place with stone benches.
Yeah.
And with an open roof. And that's what I thought of Colosseum.
Definitely, yeah. And at this point, we pretty much just have Matt living out like his childhood dream of going on like a treasure hunt in an abandoned ruin.
Right.
And I can't say that I wouldn't do something similar.
Yes. Okay. But you passed over the fact that Rand feels uneasy about seeing eyes staring at him from the shadows.
Yeah.
So...
Just ignore it, though.
I just said, well, this place is called something to do with shadows, and the chapter is called Shadows Waiting, so it's probably accurate that people are staring at you from the shadows. Yeah. Rand. But Rand just glazes over it. Not a big deal. Forgets about it. The boys grow tired, and Rand sort of wants to go back and go to sleep, but Matt berates him about this and says, you can sleep anytime. Let's go look for treasure.
Yeah.
And I just wrote here, Matt is pissing me off.
He's the worst.
He is not being logical. He is not being rational. He's being very immature. And I'm already pissed that he, peer pressured them to leave in the first place. And now is a time that they should be going back because the sun's going down. And he's just I'm just waiting for something to happen to them.
I have a question for you here.
Yeah.
So a couple chapters ago, we got to see Rand having an out-of-body, weird, crazy fever experience.
That's
where he was
true.
doing things that totally weren't rational.
Oh.
And now we see Matt doing something sort of similar from Rand's perspective.
Yeah.
Right?
It's pretty irrational. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is not rational and it's crazy.
Yeah. And last time we got to see from Rand's perspective.
And we got to
now,
see what's going on in his head.
But put yourself in Matt's shoes watching Rand, laughing and jabbing at these white cloaks.
Yeah.
Having a linguistic duel with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting
point, yeah.
It is an interesting
Okay.
point. Because, we're definitely focused on Rand as this is the perspective of these past 19 chapters.
And only weird things can happen to Rand, but maybe not.
Yeah, well, they're all in this together.
They are.
Bust into song.
Okay.
Go.
I don't know the song. We're not watching that movie either afterwards.
Go Wildcats. Okay, well, that's an interesting point, and I'm going to tuck that in the back of my head because interesting, Brett. Yeah, so now basically I'm just waiting for something to happen to them, and Matt says he wants to go look for treasure and climb one of the towers to see the whole city.
Mm-hmm.
And then from behind them, there's a man who says, the towers are not safe.
Yeah.
And I went, uh-oh!
Oh my god, there's a person! Yeah.
Bad news bears. So, they all swing around, and Rand puts his hand on his sword hilt, and they see a man standing in the shadows. Now, this man sort of makes to step forward, but then says all smoothly, I've been in the dark a while, and my eyes aren't adjusted to the light.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
No. So, Rand asks who he is, and he says his name is Mordeth.
Yeah.
And that's a freaking scary name.
Mordeth?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say we should name our next child. No? Okay. Maybe? Okay. We'll talk about it.
Well, more in French is death, and death in English is death.
That's
so his name is Death.
Oh my god.
That's a scary name.
I didn't know that about French, so...
You didn't?
No.
Oh, well, Voldemort's name is Flight of Death or something like that. The mort at the end means death.
Oh, okay.
A mortuary.
Gotcha.
A morgue. A lot of English words are stemming from French words.
Okay.
But we all know that part.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Cool, so his name is Death.
Death. So, he goes on about how, there haven't been people in Erenhall for a long time. And I think this is weird.
Because he's using the spooky old name.
The old name for it.
Mm-hmm.
And
besides the fact that he's a spooky ghost man in the shadows in an abandoned, haunted ruin city.
Right, that.
Besides that
Except
part.
that they don't think it's haunted. They think it's safe.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It's safe. So, he thinks it's weird that there are 3 young men wandering the streets, because there haven't been people there in a long time. So Rand does some quick thinking here, and it's a little out of character for him, but, he's actually figuring out things quickly, and he's actually learning. So he says they're on their way to Caemlyn.
Okay.
And he doesn't tell them that they're going to Tar Valon.
Okay. I put down the fact that he's stupid because he keeps telling everyone where they're going.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought he was being smarter here.
He might be thinking he's smart,
but also the first time I read this, I thought he said Baerlon. And so I thought he was being smart. But now that I'm figuring out, never mind.
He might be trying to hide the fact, obviously, because we get into that in just a second here with Tar Valon, but I just keep thinking, he did this with Padden Fane.
Yeah.
First thing he does is tell everyone
where they are,
who he's with, where he's at, where he's staying, how long he's going to be here.
Yeah.
And with this guy, he's like, oh yeah, here's all my information. Do you want my social insurance number too? Come on, man.
No, I know. But anyways, he says, I think that it's okay, because he didn't say they're going to Tar Valon.
Yeah.
Especially because right away, I think that this guy is probably why the Trollocs won't enter. And then I said, him and people like him. And then I said, I bet there are weird shadow people, because he doesn't recognize the name of the closest, modern day city.
Yeah, and Caemlyn's the capital of Andor.
Yeah.
Which is the nation they're in. It's
right.
the capital city.
Yeah, so I think here, I'm hypothesizing.
Okay.
in the middle of the chapter right now.
Yeah.
That
yeah.
I think that there is some spell
Okay.
that when someone enters the city, it wakes up like the shadow people.
Okay.
Who are like cursed.
Like you've crossed the barrier to the city and now they awaken?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That's what it sort of seems like to me.
It's also terrifying.
Yeah, it's not good, but that's like all I can think about right now.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It kind of shows like Rand's innocence to the world too, where he just spouts off information. Yeah. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, that's true. But Perrin asks Mordeth again, what are you doing here? And he says that he's a treasure hunter.
Yeah, coincidentally,
and
that Matt
the moron, is very excited to hear about the treasure, like an idiot.
Wait, so you don't think he's a treasure hunter?
I think it's an awfully big coincidence that they were just yelling about treasure.
Yeah.
And now he's a treasure hunter.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting that there's actually treasure. So.
Yeah.
It depends. Maybe.
Okay.
I doubt it, but...
well, yeah, let's get there.
So Mordeth says that he has found tons of treasure and he needs help to carry it all. So would these boys be interested in helping him? And I yell, stranger danger!
Yeah. And he says, I never expected to find 3 strong, delicious young men. I mean, strong, healthy young men. See, it's funny because it's terrifying.
Oh, yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyways, I said, this man doesn't actually have kittens and puppies in his van.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't go with him. These boys have never been taught about stranger danger.
No.
Being from...
Yeah, because there's never any strangers.
Yeah. So Matt is really eager to help him and to get his share of the treasure.
I mean, it sounds like a good deal.
Yeah. So he's all smug and tells the boy, see, I told you there was treasure here. And then I was like, why is he so trusting of this random weirdo guy?
Yeah.
And I wrote here that I know your rebuttal is going to be that they're from a small village.
Yeah.
Where there are no strangers, so they can trust anyone.
It definitely could be, but it also comes back to the whole, is Matt having a similar fever dream?
Yes.
Right?
That's true.
Maybe not fever dream.
Not fever dream. That's
but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's out-of-body experience.
Yeah. But I think that they should be more wary of odd strangers who aren't like them, being from a small village. Like, they don't come into contact with a lot of strangers. So they just trust everyone they know. Yeah. But wouldn't that make you, like, more untrusting of strangers if you never have to come into contact with strangers?
Maybe.
Or it just makes
They just come into contact so rarely with strangers. Like, they have
that they
peddlers
just assume
who come...
that everyone is just sort of nice and you can trust them?
That's the so innocence to the world, right? But
yeah.
People are, sometimes really like that, too.
Yeah. So I said, so they're all going to go help Scary Danger Man in this dark, scary, abandoned building.
And better yet, I was going to say,
what a good idea.
Oh, the treasure inside, downstairs.
In the scary dungeon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a line here that I quoted that says, there was nothing for the others to do but go on. First off,
wrong.
No. There are plenty of other options. You could not follow the scary shadow man into the shadows.
You could grab your friend and say, hey
leave,
man, no.
And run away. And you have weapons. And this guy doesn't. He's like a short, fat, bald man.
Yeah.
Who like isn't stepping out of the shadows.
Yeah. So they have options.
They do. That's like the worst line. There's nothing for them to do. That's not true. But inside is pitch black, and they're following this guy down some winding steps to the dungeon cellar, so this just keeps getting better.
Where it gets darker and darker,
along
the path.
Pitch black.
They're like literally can't see anything, so they're using the wall as a reference guide here.
Yeah, so even Matt starts to feel uneasy, and he mentions how dark it is, but Mordeth is having no issues finding his way around in the dark. So Rand has a thought that there's something odd about this guy, but he can't pick out exactly what.
And it's like, hey man, now you're thinking there's something weird about this situation?
And it's like literally everything about him is odd.
Yeah.
His placement here in this abandoned city.
The fact that he's just like, hey guys, come help me out with some treasure.
Yeah, super, oh my god. So, he's described as a short, fat, bald man with weird clothes.
Yeah,
and he forgets how weird this guy is when he enters a room that's lit by torches with piles and piles and piles of gold and jewels and treasures all over.
So there is treasure.
There is treasure. I'm wondering if it's like an illusion of sorts.
Later on in the chapter they pick stuff up. Like,
that's true.
Perrin picks up the axe to like look at it.
Yeah, and they like trip over the gold chains.
Yeah,
and everything. Yeah,
but I mean that's the whole candy and comic books in the van. Mm-hmm. The candy and comic books do exist in the van.
Sure.
You just don't go to them.
You're right. Stranger danger.
Exactly.
Yeah. Sometimes there isn't.
we should move along here.
Just wrap it up.
All right. Yeah.
So Matt is so excited, and he just like wants to get it all out right now.
Yeah.
So Rand is being like the medium voice of reason here.
Yeah.
Like if there is any reason to be had in
He's
this
like
situation.
halfway there. Yeah.
Yeah. But he says they can't because it's going to be dark right away.
Yeah.
And Perrin says, well, we'll come back tomorrow for it all. I'm sure Moiraine and Lan will understand. And I go, what? Of course they won't. How could Perrin possibly think that Moiraine and Lan are going to understand?
Be like, oh man, there's treasure. Let's go get it.
Like, what the fuck? I just can't with these guys right now.
Well, how do you think Lan gets his unlimited money bags?
That's what I was going to say.
There you go.
Well, I was going to say he clearly doesn't need this gold.
Oh, I was going to say
he has
he's going to
tons of
fill
his
it up.
own. These are the banks.
Yes, that's what we were talking about.
Ah, got it.
This guy's just a banker.
It's all coming full circle.
Okay.
I got it.
He works in financial services. There's nothing wrong with it.
Oh my god. So Mordeth picks up on this and says, oh, you're not alone? Who else is with you? And Matt absently answers as he's like sifting through all of the
Oh yeah.
treasure.
He's just like picking through.
And he goes, oh, Moiraine and Lan and Egwene and Nynaeve and Tom. He's a gleeman. We're all going to Tarvalon. And I just say, so
awesome.
dumb. So dumb. So dumb. So this enrages Mordeth. So he is so pissed off that they lied to him. And he clearly knows about Tarvalon.
Yes, he doesn't know about Caemlyn.
Right. But
he does know about Tarvalon.
And he goes, you said you were going to this Caemlyn, nothing about Tarvalon.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets so pissed off. And Perrin sort of tries to say...
And fear. Rage and fear.
Rage and fear.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Perrin tries to say, well, if you still want us to help, like, we can come back tomorrow. And they're all sort of, like, making to, like, back out. And
well, crazy spooky man just is starting to freak out.
yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just so pissed off that he can't even, like, manage his emotions, Mordeth is. And he's, like, panting and shaking his head and can't decide what to do. And then tells them, just take what you want, but no, don't. And then Rand remembers something that was weird about him.
The thing, and I love this writing because it's the thing that's kind of picking at the back of Rand's brain.
Yeah.
It keeps getting mentioned like
And
there's
then
something
he
off,
figures
there's
it
something
out,
off.
And he's so shocked by what he figures out that he just yells it out loud. Perfect.
You don't have a shadow.
You don't have a shadow. And at this, Mordeth says, so it's decided then. And then he starts to swell up, kind of like Moiraine.
Yeah.
Getting really big.
That's
what I like.
Very
mirror.
similar, because I'd asked you that question previously with Moiraine. Is she actually getting bigger, or is it an illusion?
Yeah.
And same kind of question here is like, is he or is it an illusion?
Well, I don't know. It's all strange.
It's different than what she does.
It's different. So he swells up, and his head sort of hits the ceilings, and his shoulders hit the walls, and he's blocking off the exit. So Rand screams and tries to get his sword, but like falls over, and it's all wrapped up in his cloak, and he's struggling for it. And I'm just thinking, like, come on, man.
Yeah.
You gotta get better.
He needs practice.
Yeah.
I have two questions real quick here. So when Rand first says, you don't have a shadow, Mordeth says, so it is decided.
Yeah.
What is decided?
Well, he was struggling to make a decision before Rand said that. It says he's looking like he's struggling to make a decision.
On what, though?
Well, he's saying, like, just to either just, like, let them go.
Yeah.
Or continue trying to do what he's trying to do right now.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to figure out what he should do because he's pissed off that these guys lied to him. And there's more people than he expected.
And Tarvalon's involved now somehow.
And so he's trying to figure out, and then he's just either wants them to just leave, take some treasure if they want it, and go away.
Yeah.
But then he goes, accept, and then that's when Rand yells out about the shadow thing.
Yeah.
And then he goes, so it's decided then. And he's clearly decided that he's not just going to let them leave.
Okay, so the decision is like, I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you're gonna die at some point.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you somehow. I don't really know.
Because he doesn't really fully attack the boys.
No, it's almost like he tries to and then fails.
Yeah, like something doesn't really go wrong.
Something doesn't go right. Yeah,
something doesn't go right. Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me because he like swells up like he's blocking the exit and he goes to like grab their heads like with his giant hand.
Yeah, and
but
then
then something happens where he like deflates or something. There's a scream.
there is a scream, and it's not specific on who it was who screamed. Like
Rand
Rand
wants...
yelled when he falls, but then he says suddenly an agonized scream shivered in Rand's ears, but we don't know whose scream that is.
Right, but Perrin is standing there unharmed, and Matt is like cowering.
Yeah.
With a dagger in his hand.
Yeah, Perrin has his axe, and Matt picked up a dagger. Yeah. So like.
So they seem fine.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Mordeth is like cowering in the corner.
Super weird.
In a dark shadow away. So I don't know if the like torchlights got the best of him or if he needed... Because he's like a shadow man guy.
So maybe light,
Yeah,
hurt him.
Yeah, I have no idea really what happened. And I don't know if it's one of those times where we're just like never going to find out.
Yeah, well, we're certainly not going to figure out now. So,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm not really sure, but I don't think that the scream came from Perrin or Matt.
Okay.
I think the scream came from
Mordeth,
because he was huge.
And now he, like, deflated.
And then all of a sudden, he's just, like, cowering in the corner with his knees against his chest.
Yeah.
But, anyway, so I do want to focus a little bit on the fact that Matt snatched up a dagger.
Oh, you noticed that.
Yeah.
Why did that stand out to you?
Because Min's picture of Matt included a dagger with a ruby in it.
Yeah. And then when Rand told Matt about the images,
he was excited about that idea.
A dagger with a ruby. Sounds pretty nice.
Sounds cool. I like that part of it. I don't know about the rest, but I'll take that dagger.
Yeah.
And then now he's picked up a dagger, and it really doesn't say anywhere that he dropped it.
Oh, okay.
So maybe he kept it.
It doesn't also say that it just says a dagger. It doesn't say a dagger with a ruby.
That's true. But
okay.
I just wrote it.
Okay. All right.
I've just made some note about it because I'm really looking for things to impress you with.
Okay.
But anyways, I just said that was interesting.
No, that's good. That's fun. So.
Okay. So something moves in the corner and it's Mordeth all small. And Matt yells out, "He tricked us!"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, bud.
Duh.
He gotcha.
So this causes Mordeth to like cry at them. "You're all dead! All dead!" And then he leaps up and comes to them, at them, from across the room. And as he moves, though, he like stretches out like a tendril of smoke and he vanishes through a crack in the wall.
Yeah. So it seems like Mordeth himself is a shadow, which is why he doesn't have a shadow. And then he like wisps out into a shadow thread and then goes through the wall. So,
which could explain why or how he got bigger.
True.
Because shadows can grow depending on angles.
The light source and all that too. So yeah. Yeah.
And like we do get mention here of when they start to leave, the lights start to dim.
Yeah.
And the torches start to go out. And so when light starts to dim, shadows grow bigger.
Exactly.
So, but then he gets small again.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
It's tough. I think Mordeth is
but
just
it's also
misunderstood.
Clearly magic.
Yeah. Well, some form of.
It's definitely some magic. So even if it doesn't make like the most sense.
Yeah.
We can just chalk it up to magic.
Magic or supernatural.
Yeah.
So that pretty much prompts the boys to leave, with Matt still protesting. But the treasure, we have to get the treasure.
Yeah, and I said seriously,
like, hey man, come on.
Yeah, so they all just start running, and I'm on the same page as Perrin here because he yells out, "We don't want your treasure. We're not taking any of it," as if that's gonna let them leave or something. He's trying, I guess, and Matt wants to stay and keeps looking around at all the treasure, forcing Rand and Perrin to grab his arms and basically drag him out of the room.
Yeah.
So as they leave, the torches all start sort of going out, and they're just booking it out of there.
Mm-hmm.
So they all get out, like falling on top of each other, like up the staircase, and they get out, and the sun is basically setting.
Yeah, like they don't have a lot of time left here.
None. Especially if that was like their whole thing, that we'll be back before sundown, and we won't be in trouble. Yeah. Then it's like, well...
Not looking so good right now.
No.
So I have a quick question about what Matt says next, because as soon as they exit, Matt says, "At least we're out of it."
Yeah.
And at least I... Finish the sentence. What do you...
Oh, I didn't even pick that up.
Okay.
I don't know. Read it to me again.
Yeah, so it says, "At least we're out of it." So, and then Matt got up from the bottom of the pile, dusted himself off in shaky imitation of his usual manner. "And at least I..." And then Perrin cuts him off and says, "Are we?" As in, are we out of it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but at least I got the dagger out.
Hmm.
At least I got something.
Got some treasure or something?
At least I got something. Yeah,
Okay.
that's what's gonna happen. And I bet it's gonna come back to bite them because later he says that no, we don't have anything.
He does say that.
Because I didn't even pick that up.
Okay.
Because I even wrote down here.
Well, I mean, you kind of...
Matt says, at least we're out of it. And I said, but nope, they still have to get back. And I just, like, went on with it. I missed that other part he said completely.
Okay.
So, interesting, Brett.
Yeah. Fun little tidbits there.
That is an interesting tidbit. I don't know how fun it is, but...
Fun for me as the reader. It's less fun for them.
Yeah. So, Rand isn't imagining it anymore. There are eyes 100% watching him from the shadows. Like, every shadow everywhere. And Rand instinctively tells the others that we have to go fast and stay out of the shadows as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just happy that they remembered their way back, because if this was you who went on an adventure...
I would be gone forever.
You'd be gone forever.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know your way back at
Not
all,
a chance.
especially after something like this happened, where you're all turned around and scared. And...
Yeah, I can't find my way out of, like, a parking lot, honestly.
Yeah, I was going to say, when we leave a store in a mall...
Yeah.
You turn the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have no chance.
So, but they remembered their way back because they are finally coming up on the white building as they do, and the eyes disappear.
Yes, like instantly, like as soon as they cross a barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the boys bust through the door, and everyone is in the middle of the floor at a small fire, except for Lan.
Yeah.
And Nynaeve, true to character, starts yelling at them.
Yeah, I wrote down the different reactions, which all kind of summarizes them.
Yeah.
So Egwene is relieved, but tries to be like angry about it. And then you have Tom, who's just like, these fools, and goes back to smoking. Then you have Nynaeve, who snaps at them, and Moiraine, who's showing no agitation. She kind of seems like she's relieved that they're actually alive.
Yeah, she had a white knuckle grip on her dress.
Yeah.
And then she let it go when they showed up.
Like, she's been through whatever she's been through to at least get these boys out of the
and
Emmons
then they
Field,
just like went sneaking off.
Yeah.
Idiots.
So she's probably just relieved. She's probably pissed, but she's also probably relieved they're alive and not dead.
Yeah.
So.
But I find it interesting because when Nynaeve is berating them about how stupid they are, she says that Lan went out looking for them.
Yeah.
So I'm annoyed by this because I don't want something to happen to Lan because these guys are morons.
Yeah, for sure.
So Moiraine here must have regained some of her strength now because she's standing up to face them. And she says calmly, "You should not have done what you did, but tell me what happened out there."
Yeah.
Basically.
And in true form, they only kind of tell some of this story.
Yeah, and I said, Matt immediately goes into the whole, "You said it was safe here. You said Trollocs wouldn't come in." And Moiraine suddenly steps forward and cuts Matt off, like, super intensely. "Did you see Trollocs inside these walls?" And she's like, "Oh my god."
Yeah, wasn't expecting that.
No. And Rand says, "No, not Trollocs." And then all three boys start launching into the story of what happened, but they're all talking at different times and telling different parts of the story over each other. And I said, at least they're telling her what happened and not keeping it a secret like everything else.
Yeah.
So, Moiraine shows little concern, but Rand says the guy's name is Mordeth. And she, like, hisses at him and grabs his arm, and the guys are kind of taken back by her intensity.
Yeah.
And she says, "Are you sure? Did he touch you? Did he give you anything?" And
yeah, so 3 really specific things. Did he touch you? Did he give you anything? Did you do anything for him?
Right.
So Mordeth wouldn't come out of the shadows. And then forgiving them things, like he's trying to get them to take the treasure, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
We'll come back to that.
Uh-oh. See, now I'm really concerned. I thought I was concerned. Now I'm really concerned.
Because Moraine's concerned here about those 3 specific things. Like, those are really direct questions.
And all of the boys say, no, none of that.
Yeah.
And I went back and I read her like questions again, and I'm like, well, did he touch them when he was like blew up and he was like swiping for their heads? Mm-hmm. Did he get them? And then I was really looking into this. Did he give you anything?
Yeah.
And I was thinking about the treasure. Like, he didn't physically give anything to them, right? And then did you do anything? Well, they went with him.
They were going
to do something for him, but then they didn't. So I was like, does that count?
Does it count?
I looked like I knew these questions were obviously very important.
Yeah.
I didn't know why, but I looked into them, and because I didn't catch the whole thing with Matt, I did catch the dagger thing. You kind of
sort of did.
I caught the dagger thing, but then I thought he didn't give it, sort of.
So do semantics
Except that
count?
he did say, "Take anything."
Yeah.
So...
Does that count? This is where the whole semantics comes, like, does it matter?
but I think it might matter.
Maybe. I guess we're going to have to read and find out. Okay. So then we get into Moraine's story time. She's like the worst bedtime story person
Yeah,
ever.
except first, Nynaeve pipes up blaming Matt for the whole thing, and she's not wrong.
Yeah, she's like, oh, Matt's fault.
Yeah.
I know this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so even if Matt was having his whatever experience going a little bit nuts and stuff, she still knows it's Matt.
Totally, Matt.
Like, it's not 100% out of character, which is probably why I didn't pick up on it. Like, Rand being cocky and kind of an asshole, like, that is so out of character. Yeah. But Matt doing, like, it's not 100% out of character.
Matt typically pulls pranks he thinks he can get away with, though. So, like, you know, I didn't know the dogs were going to go and run home.
Right.
And even the White Cloaks, as soon as he broke the thing that made the barrels roll down, he, like, hid.
Yeah.
Right, so that he wouldn't be caught. He's not standing there, like, so he wants to get away with stuff.
Yeah.
But this isn't exactly a prank he's trying to pull.
No, it's not a prank. He's just being a little wild.
Yeah.
But, okay.
You know, he's first time away from home, so.
Yeah. Matt actually blames Moiraine again and says, what were we supposed to think? You said it was safe. And she just shoots back at him, well, apparently you didn't think.
Yeah, because
and
everything we're
thinking.
Obviously
be wary of a place Trollocs are scared to enter. And then she launches into story mode.
Yeah.
And I'll let you take over.
Yeah, so I'll just do a quick summary here. So, with this place, late in the Trolloc Wars, and we know that the Trolloc Wars happened about 1,000 years after the breaking of the world.
Yep.
And lasted for about 300 years. So during that time late in the wars, there was an army of thousands of Trollocs and Dark Friends and Murdral, so just thousands of bad guys. They camped out in this city, in the ruins,
Yeah.
and then they just never came out.
Right. So are we to assume that Eredhall were allies of Manetheren, like, before the Trolloc Wars? Or, like, in the first 100 years of the Trolloc Wars? Like, at the beginning? Because by the end, it's there's no one in the city except for Trollocs and Murdrals and Fades and whatever.
Yeah, so it all kind of happened in that time frame. We get a little bit more history that I'm going to talk about in the next series of stories. But just the reason why the Trollocs are afraid of Shadar Logoth is because of this one really specific event, is the fact that thousands camped in this abandoned fortress, and then they just didn't come out, and then scouts went in to go figure out what happened to the thousands of Trollocs and Murdral and Dark Friends, and then all they found were, like, bits of weapons and armor, and then blood spattered everywhere, and there were messages scrawled on the walls asking for the Dark One to come and save them, and these are, like, Trollocs who are praying for the Dark One to save them, like, written in blood.
Right.
And then more men came later after those scouts went in and found just, like, the scraps and the blood. And when the men went in later, nothing.
Yeah.
So that's why they're, like, afraid of this place, is because thousands of Trollocs went in and nobody came out.
Yeah.
And they don't know how or why. They just know that it's essentially, it means death to enter.
Yeah.
So they don't want to go. Because they're not, like, completely mindless creatures.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So that leads into Moiraine talking about, like, she set up the wards to keep the Shadar Logoth evil out, because the Watchers that the boys are talking about, who are, like, the eyes peering on them, they can't stand the light of the sun, so during the nighttime, the wards are going to protect them from the evil of Shadar Logoth. But it doesn't seem like she can do wards for Trollocs and do wards for the evil of Shadar Logoth at the same time.
Yeah.
It's kind of like one or the other.
Okay. But she also, I don't think, can do a ward from Trollocs. Because otherwise, why didn't they just, like, camp in the woods and set up a ward from the Trollocs and Murdral?
Well, it doesn't sound, because she kind of references at the end of the chapter, it's not be all end all, you can't pass this line.
But the line that she has for the shadow people,
that one does work.
It's different.
Different kinds of evil. And I think that's the big distinction, is that we have two very distinct sets of evil in this book right now. We have, like, the Dark One evil, and then we have this weird Shadar Logoth evil.
Yeah.
Like, they don't interact, because, like, why would the one evil kill the other? Like, mass murder the other, right?
Yeah.
So, it's kind of a weird distinction there.
Yes, it is. And I also think it's funny that Egwene sort of says uncertainly, Shadar Logoth, I thought this city was called Eredhall.
Yeah, it's like she didn't hear it last chapter.
You don't listen. She never listens. Like, she does this thing all the time where she's so eager to hear things and learn things, and then she doesn't retain it.
Yeah. It's like the
And
hearing
then she
versus...
asks dumb questions and pisses people
Because she
off.
did it previously with the power. Like, oh, does that thing have power?
The staff is so powerful.
Yeah.
No, it's not. We've already been over this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was just like a funny thing for like Egwene to chip in there.
Yeah. And that also kind of prompts more story time, too. Maybe a bit of a... Well, no, I was going to say a little bit of a... Device to get the story out, but it is a characteristic of Egwene to not, like, retain information, like you said.
Yeah.
So this will get a little complicated. I'll try to keep it concise and maybe draw you a picture to outline the events.
Yeah, I need things like that.
So we learn that after the breaking of the world, we have 10 nations who form something called the Second Covenant, who form an allegiance to fight the Dark One.
Right.
So those 10 nations, 2 of them, one was Manetheren, the other was Eredal.
Right.
And then there's 8 others we don't actually learn about yet. So then we get a little bit of an introduction into the kings of Manetheren and Eredal to give you some reference and to piece together a time frame for these events. You would ask me previously, when we first got introduced to Shadar Logoth, that this was an ally of Manetheren, and we know that Manetheren was betrayed by certain nations that led to their downfall because they didn't send reinforcements during that war.
That's right.
But we can assuredly say now that Eredal fell.
Not one of them.
Yeah, because Eredal fell before Manetheren fell.
Definitely.
So.
And they definitely can't send something saying we're going to come help you if like they're not even there.
Yeah, they were totally collapsed as an empire by the time Manetheren fell. Maybe not super long, but they were gone. So the important names here is we get the king of Manetheren at the time was Thorin al-Torin al-Ban. And we already heard of Thorin because when Manetheren fell, Aemon, his full name is Aemon al-Kar al-Thorin. So the king of Manetheren, Thorin al-Torin al-Ban, that's Aemon's granddad. That's his grandpa.
Okay.
Because it's 2 lines.
Okay.
So it kind of puts into a lineage
there.
there.
I'm going to need like a family tree visual.
Okay. So the funny part about that is the whole, Thorin, son of, Torin, son of Ban. Mm-hmm. The Al means son of. So we get Rand, Al-Thor, is literally Rand, son of Thor. Now we know that in Two Rivers that's not exactly how names work right now, but little tidbit that RJ does is that he is the son of Thor.
Yes.
So Thor in Norse mythology has 3 children, 2 sons and a daughter, and the sons' names are Modi and Magni, which mean courage and mighty, and the daughter's name is Thrud, which means strength. So Rand, his name is a translation of courage, mighty, and strength.
Okay.
Yeah, fun little real life tidbit.
Sure.
Doesn't
God
mean
of
anything
Thunder.
here, but
well, yeah. Also God of Thunder.
Yeah, not the Marvel version though.
Shoot.
And then we have the king of Eredal at this time was Balwin Mael or Balwin Ironhand, kind of play off with the Archer Hawkwing too, and Rogash Eagle-Eye.
Yep. And
then in the days when the Shadow was winning, that's when Mordeth, the person we've met, he appeared in Balwin's court. And then after a very short amount of time, Mordeth basically got in the king's ear of Eredal, and very shortly was the second to the king. So
I want to just say it's kind of funny how Rand is stupid and is still surprised by things he shouldn't be. Like in the text, she goes, "Oh," and then Mordeth came, and he goes, "The same Mordeth?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
The same one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Rand.
Yeah. So Mordeth is basically the bug in the ear of the king, which is causing Eredal to withdraw into itself, and it like hardens itself. And they talk about how Eredal had this saying, "The victory of the light is all." So like that should clearly be a sign for good, like the light is good. Yeah. But they're at the same time committing atrocities like war crimes while they're saying the victory of the light is all.
Right.
So that they more or less implode upon themselves. Then we have Thorin's son Kar, who is the one who tries to go win back Eredal into the Second Covenant. So they were like booted out of the Second Covenant, like the 10-nation allegiance, they were booted out. And then Kar tried to get back in. And then when Balwin was still the king, Mordeth was at his side. So this is kind of like a Grima Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings. Very similar, where Grima Wormtongue like poisoned the mind of, Theoden, King of Rohan, and like was in his ear. and causing Rohan to like collapse. Same thing is happening with this. So Mordeth sentences Carr to die. So he was one of the kings of Manetheren at the time, or the king's son. And that led Carr to escape the dungeons of Eredal, flee to the Borderlands. We get a couple mentions of different tales here where,
Yes.
he met his new wife, and then she was the one who ended up killing him and then killed herself because, at his tomb.
Romeo, Juliet.
A little bit Romeo and Juliet style there. So we don't really hear anything else about that, but that's when the armies of Manetheren came to avenge Carr, and realistically at that point, the only person who could be the king at that point was Aemon, because it's Aemon Alcar Althorin. So when Carr
Right, I got it.
was captured, so must be when Aemon steps in. So now Aemon of Manetheren goes over to Eredal to, get vengeance for having his father sentenced to die.
Yep.
But when they get there, nothing is left in Eredal. Eredal is completely torn down, and there's nothing living inside the walls, but there's something worse than death. So that's like the impression we get of Eredal, is all that suspicion and hate and whatever Mordeth did to the king and the people there, they imploded upon themselves, and that we can kind of assume is the Watchers that the boys were feeling are
Right.
the eyes of...
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, the corrupt souls, we'll call them.
Yeah.
Of Shadar Logoth.
Can we call them poor, unfortunate souls?
Sure.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Little Mermaid.
Okay. So would Mordeth be that big octopus lady?
Ursula?
Ursula?
Yeah, he could be Ursula.
Okay, that works.
Because she collects souls.
Totally.
Essentially.
I'm fine with that. Okay.
Because she trades for stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like good stuff, or
Well, like Ariel's voice.
Oh, nice. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Luckily, it's coming to live action, and you'll watch it again.
Yeah. Okay. We can do that. So then Moiraine talks a little bit more about, now we get another reference to a name not Mordeth but Mashadar. So she says Mashadar waits still, hungering. We get no glossary definition for that. So
yeah, I read that paragraph so many times trying to figure out what she was talking about or who she was talking about, and I don't know.
So we get Mordeth, who we know is a person, sort of.
Yes.
Right, is like the Shadow Man. And then we have Mashadar, which is something, an entity.
Yeah.
And Mordeth did not get consumed by Mashadar, but he was trapped by it. And this all happened like 2,000 years ago.
Right.
So Mordeth has been around, and this Mashadar has been around for
yeah.
at least 2,000 years. And others have seen Mordeth before, but like apparently he kills people when they come in.
Yeah.
But this is when we get one of the most important tidbits of information here.
Yes.
That really connects a few dots for us here.
I know.
So I wrote this down word for word, more or less. So if he ever convinces somebody to accompany him to the walls, to the boundary of Mashadar's power, he will be able to consume the soul of that person. Mordeth will leave, wearing the body of the one he worse than killed, to wreak his evil on the world again.
Yes.
So this plays into Moiraine's questions about, did he give you anything? Did you do anything for him? Did he touch you? Because essentially this Mordeth / Mashadar could be in one of the boys.
Yes.
Could have taken over his body.
Right. But I right away am so pissed off at Moiraine and Lan for not sharing this information, like, before they even... I know what your rebuttal is going to be, but I don't care.
What is my rebuttal? What do you think it is?
That they were going to tell them. They should have just, saddled the horses, and then they would have got told.
No, I don't think that they would have told them. I think that Moiraine and Lan don't share information, and I think that's one of their flaws.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because I am beyond furious.
Moiraine does not share information.
Moiraine and Lan both know that these boys are green. They're idiots. They do things they're not supposed to do. They annoy her. You know what I mean? They need to know all of the things that could happen.
Yeah.
Because they have no clue. They can't even possibly imagine that some strange, creepy, weird man in the middle
2,000 years ago,
of an abandoned city isn't there to cause them harm.
Yeah. Or it's something that could, like, steal their soul. Like, the spectrum there of what the evil is. Like, this is clearly a really terrifying evil.
Yeah.
So...
I said, I get she was all tired and everything, but... this is really fucking important information.
Yeah.
And with everything they've been through, like right away, it should have been first priority to tell them everything there is to know about the place that they're staying.
But again, in Moiraine's character, we know that she does not share information. She doesn't think she absolutely needs to.
Yeah.
She even.
I think this is an absolutely needs to situation.
Yeah, but she doesn't. She doesn't think it's necessary because she's hoping, and maybe it is a tell on how tired. Like maybe she did just make a mistake here, and maybe it is a tell on how wiped out she is.
Yeah, but Lan also, like, they were both standing at the gates talking about this place. She tells them the name of it, and then they just trot in on their horses.
Yeah.
Like, Lan even says, we have to find...
Yeah.
They don't even let them know that there are things lurking in the shadows. It's like, never mind about this whole Mordeth, he'll steal your body thing.
Yeah,
like,
wear you like a coat.
Yeah, like
like
what the fuck?
A skin suit.
Like they don't like even if they don't even mention that, the whole we're going into this place and we can't go out after dark because like it would have been a one sentence, this is serious business, sheep herder.
Yeah.
And it, like there was nothing.
So this and I agree. I agree that they should have, and I think that is one of the big shortcomings that we have seen repeatedly now from Moiraine is her lack of an ability, or she doesn't share information.
Yeah, but Lan, as safety officer, should have been on top of this one.
Except he's Moraine's warder.
Yeah.
So
he does what she's
says. Priority.
I agree.
And maybe that's what one of the things they were arguing about. Like, who knows? Maybe Lan wanted to tell them more, and Moiraine said, no, we're not telling them.
Yeah, they should have known.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they would have gone out being stupid boys if they knew.
So that comes back to the whole question of, did they take anything, or were they given anything, or, you know, that's the entire reason why Mordeth... It kind of leads more into the question about Mordeth saying, you know, it's decided. So was Mordeth, in fact, not trying to hurt the boys when he does his big inflation thing?
Yeah.
Was he trying to scare the boys into, you know, running to the edge of town so that he can, you know, take one of their bodies?
Yeah, but they need to go together, it sounded like, from the story.
Yeah, but
right?
who knows if that's actually truth, too? Right, this is what the information we know.
Yeah, and now this is terrible that Mordeth knows that they're there.
Oh yeah,
and he says, "You're all dead," and he said, "All dead,
all of them are dead,
like all of you. I know there's more of you."
Yeah,
and now they're gonna leave at night.
Yeah, and I can also tell you that this is a story where you're not gonna get your full cast of characters who make it to the end of the series.
Yeah,
it's
well, yeah. That's a given. I thought Tam was going to die in, like, the third chapter, so...
There's still time.
I'm totally aware that I thought you were going to say something else. But after all of this storytelling and me yelling at my book, Moiraine assures them that they're safe now, and her wards are up, and the shadow people don't come out in the daylight, so they'll leave by morning. So Nynaeve is concerned about Lan, which is, like, kind of cute. Mm-hmm. And Moiraine assures her that he will be fine. And we get some information about Lan here.
Yeah.
So, he was pledged to fight the Dark One before he left the cradle with a sword placed in his infant hands.
And that is in part with what the viewing said.
Yes, exactly.
And the viewing said 7 ruined towers around his head and a babe in a cradle holding a sword.
Yes. So, we know that Min's powers are at least partially correct.
Yeah, or accurate.
Accurate.
Yeah. So do you think that babe then is, the viewing was Lan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had the discussion of, is it, his
baby somewhere?
Future child?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe he has a baby already somewhere.
No, I don't think so. I think it's him.
Okay.
Because that's literally exactly what she described.
Yeah.
Is what Moiraine is saying right now.
And that would lead into the 7 ruined towers. That's where he's originally from, and if he's pledged to fight the Dark One from childhood, it doesn't seem like anything good happened to his nation.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Moiraine also said that she would know the minute of his death, and she would feel it just as he would feel hers.
Yeah.
So that's just more information about their bond.
Yeah, that's got to be that warder bond. So.
Yeah. So, they all try to go to sleep, but Rand has trouble falling asleep despite how tired he is, and when he does sleep, he's woken up by some weird dream.
Doesn't seem like the same types of dreams.
Definitely not. This is just...
This is like regular nightmare.
This is just a regular dream about things that happened that day. It's like about him as a baby running around with Tam's sword.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny, but not to him. But
yeah.
But Lan comes into the room after Rand has woken up.
Yep.
And Moiraine wakes up just as he walks in. So
yeah,
as if
like a bell had gone off.
Yes. And so he actually has Trolloc badges in his hands, 3 of them with red horned skulls. So it's interesting that Lan went out, quote, looking for the boys, but then ended up staying out and discovering Trollocs.
Yeah. So he might have stayed out. So this is an important point too, because we had this line of questioning about Lan and Moraine's bond and what it actually entails. So we know they can feel when the other person dies and the way of that death, right? Vice versa. And then we had Lan who comes crashing down when the Fade arrives in the inn, and then Moraine's getting everybody ready, and that kind of led you to think that they might have some sort of telepathic bond.
Well, there was more than that led me to think that, but yeah.
So when the boys come back, there's an impression that Moiraine would have been relieved. So maybe Lan knows that Moiraine being that relieved means the boys are back
right,
and okay.
If he can feel her emotions and stuff.
So he can now stay out longer and scout, because Lan likes to not just see the Trollocs, he likes to kill them and take their badges as evidence.
That's right.
Like his word isn't going to be enough. So
right. So that's funny.
It's pretty badass though.
Yes. Oh yeah. Lan is the most
like
badass.
He goes and collects badges. Like
sure. I imagine him with like a Boy Scout sash.
Of just like Trolloc badges?
Yes.
Does he collect ears and teeth too, do you think? Or just
Probably
the badges?
Not. Probably just the badges.
Okay.
Like the different like bands of Trollocs or whatever.
Yeah.
That's funny. So he has 3 of these badges with red horned skulls.
Yeah.
So he says that the Trollocs are inside the walls.
Which is like, oh my god.
Yeah. And they will be here within an hour. So also that Davol are the worst of them. So what does that mean?
So that's one of the tribes.
Okay.
We've gotten introductions to a few of the tribes, and the Davol are apparently the worst of the 3, the tribes
like
that are
most ruthless?
Possibly.
Or most like human?
Yeah.
Maybe?
So the way I think of it is like the Thens in Game of Thrones. Like everybody hates the Thens because they're cannibals.
Yes.
Right? They're like the worst of them.
Okay.
So...
Fair.
Yeah,
okay.
Like that. Maybe that's why they're the worst of them, is because they're a little more reckless or ruthless or whatever it might be.
Or they also might like be a little more animalistic or a little more human, like because we know that
like
the
more
Trollocs
cunning
look
or
more because some
aggressive.
can talk and some can't, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
there's definitely differences in Trollocs, but the most important thing he says is the fact that there are 4 Murdral forcing them to go.
Yes.
So 4 Murdral for over 100. Mm-hmm. When traditionally it would be 1 to drive that many.
Right, but they're driving them into the city, and the Trollocs do not want to enter this city.
Yeah, so they're like freaking out at everything, killing each other when anything jumps, and this is the big thing, is like they're just basically going straight line through the city. They're not, deviating.
Right, and I found this interesting that their purpose for entering the city is to cross through it.
It's almost to just say that, hey, we checked.
Yeah.
Like, we checked, we went, they can't not avoid it completely, but they're not checking the buildings,
okay,
they're not...
because I thought maybe it's, like, the fastest way, like, is through the city, and maybe they assumed that the humans went through the city, and so they're just, like, continuing their chase.
So, the reason why I think that it's a little bit more along the lines of they have to is because Lan says, so the Murdral are forcing the Trollocs, who's forcing the Murdral? So they have to go in and check. They're being forced to go in and check by somebody. So they're doing it, but they're just doing it in a way that they're just trying to stay alive.
Right.
So that's why they're not like actually searching. And the unfortunate part is that their party, like Lan and Moiraine and everybody sleeping, is just
right in the middle of where they're going.
Yeah, just right in the straight line. So it's a little bit of bad luck there.
Yes. So everyone is like up and listening now. And when Lan says, who's forcing the Murdrals, Egwene needs to just keep her dumb mouth shut sometimes because she's pissing everyone off. She goes, oh, is it the dark one? Like, and then Nynaeve here is the one who yells at her, who gets mad. She barks at her to not be a fool, and the dark one is bound at Shale Ghul.
Yeah, and that's that little line we've heard before.
Right. But Moiraine agrees and says yes. For the time being.
Yeah, it's like she basically just confirmed that, the devil exists, and he's coming after you, and he's bound, but not for very long.
Right.
Like,
it's
that's
so
the worst.
Ominous. It's so bad. And it's such, like, an offhanded thing to say. It's, like, such an intense thing to say. offhandedly.
Considering that Aes Sedai are supposed to not be able to, lie.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but she says no. And then she says the father of lies is not out there, but we have to leave anyway. See, I also think it's interesting here that these names seem to be really interchangeable. Like the father of lies, she calls the Dark One at this point.
But we've also heard that for Baal-Zaman.
Yeah.
And I think it's intentionally supposed to be a little bit convoluted.
Yeah. Where you're not quite sure.
Yeah.
Because at this point, like, I think I'm led to believe that they're different. Like, there's, Elon from the prologue, who's like a real walking, breathing, living guy. But then there's this other guy who shows up in their dreams. Yeah. So, but the Dark One wants these guys, so it's like it's a whole thing. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, I think we're supposed to be confused right now, so.
Okay. All right. Well, anyways, Nynaeve questions Moiraine about leaving the protections and crossing Shadar Logoth at night. And Moiraine simply says that, like, it's either that or face the Trollocs. Yeah. And they're going to do her original plan now that she's rested.
Yeah, if they run into the Trollocs, they're going to do the original plan.
Right. So
which was basically try to kill them all.
Yeah. Well, she says that... well, no, she says they're going to make it to the river. Yeah. Then they'll be guarded by the river. And she's going to use her powers to, like, make a guard with water kind of thing.
No. She's going to set a ward to hold them back long enough that they can build rafts and get across the water.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And then they're all confused. So Lan explains to everyone staring at him that Trollocs and Myrddraals hate deep water and can't swim. And when they cross the river, they will be safe.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's that same... I mean, you see that fantasy... I don't know if I want to call it a trope, but you see that fantasy characteristic all the time of, evil creatures can't pass running water. Mm-hmm. Right? You see that a lot of times with, like, vampires and everything like that, too. But in this series, it clearly follows through where it's like an actual barrier where they are terrified of it. Yeah. And I kind of understand that.
Yeah, you don't
I'm on the same page.
Very much,
yeah, I don't really want to cross that.
But anyways, so get your horses because we're not across the river yet.
Yeah, but don't worry. Once they're across the river, they're going to be safe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I believe it.
100% safety.
The problem is, I think, getting to the river.
And then across the river?
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like we left on that end note again of the chapter where, as soon as we do this, it'll all be okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I'm worried about them crossing through all the shadows.
Yes.
Is her ward going to hold up?
So the ward, as far as we can tell right now...
Was it just on, like, the building?
It's not a movable ward. It's not like it's, she has to set the ward for an area.
So they just basically have to take off through the city and hope that they make it to the gate without anyone getting at them?
Yeah, because once they get to the river, she can set another ward to prevent the Trollocs and, Fates from making it through long enough to cross the river.
Right, and then so we hope that Mordeth doesn't become mad because he's taking the dagger.
Because he's taken something or stolen a body or did he touch them or what happened.
Yeah, because it was all very confusing.
It is, and we don't really know if those powers Moiraine is worried about Mordeth having are actually like what are the real...
And if he can move through the shadows, he can easily... He knows, I guess, where a ward is set up, and he knows there are more people there, and he said they're all dead.
And he knows what Tar Valon is, so he knows about, like, Aes Sedai, presumably, because that's, like, the stronghold of the Aes Sedai.
Yeah.
So...
Who knows?
Yeah, because Tar Valon's been around for as long as he has been. Yeah. So, because Tar Valon was formed shortly after the breaking.
That's true.
So...
Even longer than he has, maybe, presumably.
Yeah, possibly. Like, we don't really know 100%. We don't know his age
either, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, I am excited to get into chapter 20.
Yeah.
This was a hard one to stop reading for. So.
It's going to ramp up a little bit now, too.
Yeah, it sounds good.
I think I said the last time, but we're getting into it here.
It's still going.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're almost halfway through the book now, so it's really exciting.
And the thing that you have been hoping is going to happen soon.
What's that thing? Sex?
Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe off screen, but like Mordeth is going to get busy with No, perspective switch.
Oh, yeah, really?
Soon.
Promise?
Soon. Yeah, promise.
Okay.
Soon.
Okay, because that is definitely the other thing.
Yeah.
That and the get busy scenes.
Okay, let's do this.
Let's end on that note.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Brett.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep, and that's part of the pattern now. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Wheel Weaves. If you'd like bonus content, exclusive insider looks, and to support us making great content, you can find us on patreon.com/thewheelweavespodcast. Please feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe. It would really mean a lot to us and does actually make a really big difference. Tell your friends or anyone who might like us or anyone who's thinking of getting into the series who might want to follow along with us. You can find us on social media. There's more information on there and some fun pictures and tidbits on Instagram at The Wheel Weaves Podcast or on Twitter at The Wheel Weaves Podcast. Thanks, as always, to Audionautics.com for the music, and thanks to you, awesome listeners.